This is so rad. I'm drawing straight into the screen on the laptop that we can just edit this on the same laptop. No more doing it on a tablet, just hand drawn straight into the laptop. We should just use this as the title of the video. Let's just let's roll the video. In this video, I want to pack in a lot. I want to show you my most intensive post workflows, things like raw time-lapse processing, 3D drone tracking, hand-drawn titles, and basically all of the things that I try to do in my videos to level them up. We're also going to address some things to think about if you want to edit 4K footage on a laptop in 2020, give you some ideas if you're looking at getting a laptop, because NVIDIA, the sponsor of this video, sent out one of their RTX Studio laptops, the HP NV15. They think it can stand up to the most workflow intensive tasks I can throw at it. So I guess we're gonna find out. So we are here in the production van, and let's just jump into one of my favorite workflows, and that is raw time-lapse processing. Currently I use 3 applications to pull it off. Lightroom is the main editor of how we get the look we want. Then After Effects is our main render engine and helps fix the things like denoising and stabilizing. And then we use one application called LR Timelapse, which helps pull them all together. Here we are inside of LR Timelapse, which is a purpose-built application for manipulating raw data across an image sequence. So this is just one of the time lapses I have in here, but we want to navigate to the one we are trying to edit today. And this is where this process really shines, where we can set keyframes at basically our key areas where exposure or color changes are happening. We're gonna do one there, right at the horizon where the moon is touching. We're gonna put one there. So these blue keyframes that you see are essentially the ones that we've decided we want to go edit in Lightroom. So let's go back to Lightroom, and we've got this whole image sequence selected, and we're going to go metadata, read metadata from files, read metadata. We want to come over here to the develop tab, and then we're going to filter by our keyframes. And we're actually going to jump right into the middle here, and we're going to do our base edit for one of the images that's going to become the template we apply and manipulate across the other ones. I'm relatively happy with this edit here. I don't tend to go too crazy on the way I edit my star photos. But what we do now is we're gonna copy that, those changes we just made, and we're gonna bring it over to our first image. So we're gonna paste those on. And what you'll notice immediately is that the exposure is way too bright and the white balance is off. So we're going to manipulate this one down, but using the color and saturation changes that we made on the first edit as our baseline. So we're not going to go ahead and change all the parameters. We're going to keep the baseline and mainly just manipulate things like white balance and exposure here. So, okay, our first image is done here. And now we're just going to move through image by image. We want to pay attention to what order we are here, because we want the changes to be sequential with the day, so that way it's not suddenly jumping from warm white balance to cooler, and it actually flows with what we think looks best throughout the changes of the actual lighting we had with the moon setting. Okay, we're gonna wrap those edits up for now. This is one of those stages where you could just tinker forever. But if we click through the progression of these keyframes, you can kind of see we're getting a more balanced white balance than we started with. And this is gonna help us have the whole time lapse feel like one cohesive scene. And as we reload those changes that we made, you can see those new exposure values on this yellow line here start to pop in. So those images with the little keyframes are the ones that have the edits we did. And we wanna now make that a smooth change through each of those exposure values we were changing in the sequence. So what we're gonna do is hit auto transition right here, and it's going to calculate all the transitions across all those images we edited and make one smooth line like this. At this stage, you might be asking yourself, we made all those changes, but how come we do not see them? We just still see this gross, bad white balance time lapse with the wrong exposure. What we do now is click visual previews. And what LR Timelapse is going to do is generate a DNG raw preview of every single frame and the edits that we put to it. And this is actually one of those tasks where we're going to notice if the hardware acceleration inside of our computer is going to be helping us. If you're struggling with certain video related tasks, it's pretty helpful to pull up what your computer is doing as you're running into issues and just see, is it utilizing all of the components? So as we kind of just take a peek in here, we are getting performance activated out of the GPU as we do the processing of each individual raw file. So you can see these spikes here. That's as the computer processes the changes we did to each individual raw frame. The graphics card is actually helping us out here. So we're going to touch more on why that's pretty cool later, because not every computer with a graphics card is going to be helping you out with these tasks. And that's like missing out on, it's like running with one leg. You really want to be able to utilize all the resources to actually help you with video related stuff. But let's click play here. Boom. Look at that. Oh, that's a little janky, but overall, this is heading in a fantastic direction. We could keep finessing this time lapse here for a while, but we're gonna move on to the rendering stage. Inside of After Effects here, we're gonna navigate to where we saved, where basically all those images were. So we're gonna go into my time lapse area and we're gonna select the first image in that sequence. Make sure it's the raw one. It is the raw one, and we're gonna select camera raw sequence, click import. It's going to pull up camera raw for a moment. We can just hit OK. It's now imported that as an image sequence. We're going to interpolate this, interpret main. We're going to change it to 23.976, the main frame rate we're using for most of the editing that I do. We're now going to take this and drag it down to create a new sequence. And if you're happy with how it is already, you can basically just use After Effects as a render engine. So it's referencing all that raw data, and we can now just take this composition and push it straight to Media Encoder. We're gonna go in and change some of our codec stuff here and just make sure that it's fine-tuned and exactly what we're looking for. So we are gonna go up here and select H.265. Now we're gonna come down and make sure our bitrate settings are right. This is actually cool. So you can see here we're setting hardware encoding, which NVIDIA GeForce cards, your graphics card, has something called NVENC, which basically utilizes better hardware encoding for things like H.264 and H.265. This is definitely one of those those show-offy features where your render times for a 4K video used to be 20 minutes and you can just chop it in half just by using hardware encoding. And that's one of those things that definitely over time, the amount of time you save definitely starts to add up. I greatly appreciate faster render times. And if you've been around the channel for a while, you'll remember back to the whole 4K video ruined my year thing. And that wasn't an overstatement. When I was using hardware for Premiere that was not getting utilized, it is just painful. And it's not just about editing in Premiere. I've been actually spending a lot more time in DaVinci Resolve as I try to get proficient in that, because it is it's free and it's widely available and it's such a powerful tool. So I'm trying to get better at it so that way I can get better at teaching that software specifically. But even applications like that have various different hardware accelerated features with the GeForce cards from NVIDIA that can actually really utilize, and things like working with red footage. Again, there's so many layers to every aspect of workflow that when you just do the work on your computer, you don't always spend the time to think about. But if you're running into these various obstacles as you're doing your work, it stands out to you. And it's pretty cool when the software just works. And especially working with raw media, especially working with some of the new features that we can use with denoising, with stabilizing, with the more AI computer rendered effects, the more that the software is written to work with the cards better, the better and better experiences we're going to have on more and more affordable machines, which is just really exciting to me. So I'm all for that kind of stuff. We've got the green check mark. The render is completeth. It is done. It is finished. We're going to watch it. This is the exciting moment. This is the final finale. This is where we get to... Okay, let's just hit play. That is just really cool. I am really pleased. There's some flickering happening in there that we could go back and finesse. But in general, I am quite happy with how this turned out. got some really nice stuff on the drone, and we want to verify that it is the shots we need. So we're going to quickly do a drone import and see what we've got going, and then also back up our stuff so that way if we lose the drone, it's okay. We won't lose the drone, but you know, it's just nice to be safe, and probably also just cut some quick selects and kind of see what things are looking like here. So creating proxies is great, and it's still going to be utilized in many workflows for years to come, but there is such an advantage to being able to import your footage and then immediately start to edit it. And this is one of my favorite things to do when I'm out in the field, is actually start shooting stuff, import it into the laptop and play it back, actually get a sense for what I'm shooting and how it's working, and maybe even start to cut selects, cut it to music, show it to the client. The cool part about the RTX Studio badge is that what it means is NVIDIA actually worked hand in hand with hardware manufacturers like HP to get a laptop that's at a certain performance baseline that's going to work for all of the creative tasks that you want to throw at it. So it's not crippled by some Achilles heel like really slow storage, bad displays, the things that end up really kind of being the downfall of a lot of more affordable laptops kind of in this price range. And the cool part is that NVIDIA doesn't just work with the hardware side, but they actually work with the Adobes of the world to make sure that the software is most utilized to run on the hardware. And that's, at the end of the day, what I end up caring about most. And it's not limited to just Adobe products either. So check out in the description, I got more info here for you, but you can see which software and workflows are going to benefit from hardware acceleration, like working with R3D files inside of Red City X, these massive 8K red files you can actually interact with and utilize on a laptop like this, which is really cool because they're actually utilizing GPU acceleration. And of course, one of the great parts about an RTX Studio laptop is that you get that NVIDIA GeForce graphics card inside of the computer. So taking what they've innovated on the desktop side and incorporating it into mobile machines. And so this has the RTX 2060 with Max-Q, which is essentially a laptop optimized graphics card that uses less power, so it's still efficient, doesn't drain your battery as quick, but it can still run a lot of the tasks with hardware acceleration that we really need to do our creative work. So here we are with the drone shot loaded into After Effects. 3D camera tracker, let's pop that onto our shot. And as you can see here, unfortunately, the 3D camera tracker isn't utilizing hardware acceleration, which is sad. Okay, we have solved our 3D camera track. Let's click Create Camera, and down here you see a camera was created. We've got all these track points right here, and we can go ahead and select some of them and do something like this where we could create a solid or a text. And if we just kind of preview in here, you can see that that solid is tracking into our scene. If we play forward a little bit here, that solid has now been tracked into our scene. And it does look like we have indeed gotten a smooth, clean track. Some scenes you have to go into advanced and click a detailed track, down there, detailed analysis, but this is actually a smooth track. So this is a great starting point for us now to go over and do our hand-drawn 3D titles, which we're gonna place into this shot. So I love doing hand-drawn titles like this in my videos, and typically I've always done it with a tablet in the past, and then you screen record that on the tablet and transfer it over to the laptop you're going to edit on. And that's like a multi-device process, and I have a habit of losing the special pens for the tablets. And the Envy here actually has a touchscreen on it, which normally I would never want on a laptop, but it actually works very well for drawing into a drawing app like Adobe Fresco or something like that. So if we just screen record over in an app like OBS, then we can come over, and if we draw white over black, you can basically just do whatever sort of fancy brush strokes, and then you can cut those out and set the blending mode to screen, and it's basically just a perfect white brush on, because you have that screen record file to work with and it's animated already automatically for you. There's a lot of cool hand-drawn element tricks that you can do with actually just writing out text and making it transparent and stuff like that. I covered it in a full tutorial on the topic. But now let's just take some of these elements into After Effects, because we're gonna place them into drone shots in 3D space. That's when you take it up a notch. We have imported our clip here, our screen recorded hand drawing goodness. Let's just kind of scroll through on this guy and try to find where the good stuff starts. We're gonna move it around. Okay, Control-Shift-D chops our clip up to get rid of the sections that we do not want. Carefully cutting out the interface. Boom. Okay, we've cut it out now, and we're gonna go toggles, blending mode, change it to screen. Okay, we're actually going to add curves here, so let's just find some curves. We want the whites to pop a little bit more. Let's find, oh geez, I can't spell today. Now, this is the cool part. We enable 3D properties and it places it in there. So that's actually pretty close to where we're going to leave it. We're just going to rotate it around and move it. So we're making it bigger, and we're just going to pull up some of the position properties here so we can place it better. We're going to shift it over. Okay, I might eat my words here, but I like this placement, I think. We're going to go over to enable time remapping so we can stretch out and speed up the drawing on of this guy. We want it to write on in about 5 seconds, lengthen it out, and just drag this guy to Kingdom Come. There we go. That is placed, that is tracked, that is time remapped. Let's add it to the render queue so we can put it in our edit. Okay, we've got our rendered out 3D track shot inside of Premiere here, playing it back at full 4K resolution. Boom. That is beautiful. I love that. That is so fun. I like it when it just, it's just a unique way to add some texture to your video and make it creative. And well, it literally is unique to your own writing, so everyone's way of doing it will look different. And I use this for arrows and graphics and things I use it all the time. So it's kind of fun being able to do it again, all on the same computer where I'm hand drawing on the computer and then editing it. Overall, using the HP NV15, it's gonna get a thumbs up for me usability wise. The hardware's clean, the keyboard's great. The trackpad is usable. Usually I hate trackpads on laptops, but I really don't mind this one. And the display is honestly the biggest highlight for me. It's just big, it's gorgeous, it's 4K, and it looks really awesome. So that's kind of where I'm gonna be looking at the most and what I care about when I look at a laptop. So the whole package here is kind of put together nicely, and there's nothing that's really getting in your way here, and it's still fast and light and ready to be mobile. I don't know if you're looking for a laptop or what kind of hardware you've been editing your videos on, but I strongly recommend looking at the RTX Studio line of laptops just to get that performance baseline that's really going to let you do your creative work. And I can vouch heavily for the HP NV15. That's the one that I've been using. And at this price point, being able to do all that this can do, let me just say I really wish that this laptop existed for me 5 years ago, but thankfully it does exist now, so it's ready to be used and put to creative work. Thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one, and remember, life's better when you make stuff. Peace.